Welcome to part two, guys. We're going to talk a little bit about the natural resources and the demography of Africa. So let's dive deep into it. The first is natural resources of Africa. Africa actually is a very rich country. Even when the Europeans had come to Africa, one of the European countries, that is the Portuguese, which was also the first European country to enter Africa, was interested in Africa because of its gold. In fact, even before colonization took place, there were many kingdoms like that of the Great Zimbabwe and many others that were already trading with each other through the Trans Sahara trade route. They were already, in a way, trading gold, um, slaves even at that time, and we had salt. So we can see that minerals had been explored from very earlier time in Africa. But unfortunately, what has happened to Africa is, over the years, because of the lack of technology and the lack of investment, heavy investment that is needed to actually crave out all of these minerals, Africa does not have that, and that is what has caused Africa to not explore its fullest potential yet. But what is happening here, like I told you, is one country recently is helping Africa explore its natural resources a lot, and that is China. We'll talk about it in a later uh, PowerPoint as well, but just giving you a side note right now that China is heavily investing in Africa for its natural resources, and it has been something that has been a matter of interest for a lot of European countries even before. Okay, now some beautiful places of natural resources which are now very famous also and have been converted at national parks are as follows. So the first one is the Salonga National Park, which is located in Congo. Yes, I know the spelling of exam is wrong. Yes, so sorry for that. So Salonga National Park, which is located in Congo. Then we have the most famous, I think, of these would be Masai Mara National Park in Kenya. A lot of celebrities go there for a retreat center as well. Then the third one is Serengeti National Park in Tanzania. Fourth is Kruger National Park in South Africa. In fact, because of the amount of national parks that Africa has, it is also called as, the continent for safari tours, because there are so many different types of national parks where you can go and visit and actually stay in the wild and get an experience of how it is. Okay, so yeah, these are some important national parks that you'll have to remember about: Salonge in Congo, Masai Mara in Kenya, Serengeti in Tanzania, and Kruger National Park in South Africa. Now let's understand a little bit about the water situation in Africa. Okay, now a lot of people on TikTok and YouTube often have these reels where they say, "Oh, Africa does not have water," but that's absolutely false. And appalling as well. Why? Because Africa has the longest river, guys, Nile. Now you will ask me, Satisha, why is it that people have made this TikTok? The reason is there is a difference between drinkable water and undrinkable water. Unfortunately, like I told you, some places in Africa which are backward currently may not have the resources to purify their water, or they, because of lack of awareness, because of lack of social adherence to rules and regulations. We see that there is polluted water around, but that has nothing to do with the fact that there is no water in Africa. There is water in Africa, but some of it may not be suitable for consumption, is what it is. Okay, now, moving on next, let's see. We are moving on towards demography. We talked about natural resource already. Now we're moving to demography. Now, if you look at the facial features of the Africans, they are considered to be slightly more aligned with the Homo sapiens that we had first seen, the evolved versions of humans. They are the closest, you could say, in terms of facial features to our ancestors. Okay, because again, we believe that there is a theory of out of Africa theory where our ancestors ourselves originated from Africa. In fact, they have been proven to be genetically superior in some ways than the others, especially that is why you'll see when it comes to racing, right? They have this, or running. You'll see Africans do very good at sprint race as well. This is because of some form of genetic advantage that they have. But this obviously does not mean that every African that you see will be very good at running. Okay, some Asians could out run them in certain games as well. But it's just a tendency that yes, if Africans do run and train well, they can definitely achieve higher feat. Okay, they have more athletic bodies than we probably do. Okay. Now, moving on, besides this, these are some terms that I had told you guys we do not use anymore. Your book has mentioned it, but these are outdated versions of words. Why? Because they were racist in nature and they were used during their time when it was thought to be correct. Because what people at that time were doing was they were grouping them into sections. Oh, okay, this one is black. Okay, this is negroid. Oh, this one is white. Okay, this is caucasoid. Oh, this one looks like Asian. So it's mongoloid, yellow skinned. That is also a term that was used for Asians, right? But are we yellow skinned? No, we are not. So yeah, this is what was the issue at point. Okay, so right now, do we use these words? No, we do not use the word negroid, we do not use the word caucasoid, and we do not even use the word mongoloid. Okay, why? Because today we are seeing that there are a lot of people who are mixed in nature. And also now, very simply, it doesn't really mean that, oh, because I am black I will be a negroid. No, that's not compulsory. We have people who are darker in skin tone even within Asia, even within Europe. So we cannot just classify saying that, oh, darker skin tones is this race is for whiter people or something like that. Okay. Therefore, these are very redundant in nature and are considered to be racist as well. So now the question arises, what do we do instead? Instead of using such terms, it is much better that you stick to using words like for Africans. Or instead of the word negroid, you can just use that they are African or from the subcontinent of Africa. For the Mongoloids, you could just simply say they are Asians, or the region that they come from. For example, I come from Central Asia or South Asia. Where do you come from? Something like that. And for Caucasoid, you could simply just replace it by saying Europeans. And mostly these days, I'm telling you, people identify more with their nationalities than they identify with their race. Okay, so, why is this so in terms of biology? Just to give you a little bit of understanding, there's something called as genotype and phenotype. Phenotype is the characteristics of the genes, which could be in terms of color. So, earlier people used to bifurcate people based on phenotype, which is the color characteristics, hair, nose, etc. But today we look more on our genes. What type of gene composition do we have? Okay, if me and an African person who has a similar gene composition, we would be more likely to be closer than another Indian that probably looks like me. Okay, so that is also something that has evolved over the years. Now, how is the demography currently changing in Africa? By the way, what is demography? The study of population. Okay, in case you didn't know. Now, what is happening to the demography of Africa? So, we are seeing that a lot of young people are emerging in Africa. In fact, Africa has become the youngest continent in the world, because now what is happening is in Asia, we used to consider Asia as a very young continent, but unfortunately, what is happening is that many countries like that of Japan, China are facing the problem of decrease in population and an increased explosion of older generations and population. Okay, so that in turn is making Africa have an edge over the world, whereby it's saying that, hey, I have a lot of young people in my country, so come invest in me. And the young people have a lot of ideas to um, showcase to the world as well. So yeah, this is a change that is happening in demography. Besides that, are there any mixed races that we also find in Africa? Definitely yes. There have been educated Africans as well who have migrated and gone to other places, similar to how there are some Europeans who've gone and settled into Africa. Either as a result, earlier they were settled because of colonization, or now they are settled in terms of research, or just a new life. Okay, so we find a mixed race everywhere, not just in Africa now. So demography is changing everywhere. Okay, with this we've come to an end with the topic of demography and natural resources. Please move on next to socio-cultural and economic characteristics. Thank you.